Joining us live in studio with his reaction, the former Speaker of the House, the one, the only, the gray-haired eagle, Kevin McCarthy.
You got a little gray now too, Sean.
I almost have as much as you do. Mr. Speaker, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. These are real changes. I mean, Mitch McConnell's been there for almost 2 decades.
He's the longest-serving leader in history.
And there's a lot of conservative Republicans who were not happy. If we recall, he cut a deal with Nancy Pelosi before you took the gavel to take the spending authority away from you. What do you think of him stepping down and Ronna getting out of the RNC?
Look, I want to congratulate both of them for their service. Yeah. I work with both of them a lot. And look, you can always pick and disagree with somebody on something, but one thing I don't think anyone's going to disagree, we would not have a conservative Supreme Court if it wasn't for Mitch McConnell.
That's true.
Mitch McConnell stood up when others would not. And people forget that. Being leader is a very difficult job. You know, you don't get to do everything that you want to do. And you got to make your best decision at the time. And I had a great working relationship with Mitch McConnell. And when we did the debt ceiling, cutting $2.6 trillion, the most ever cut, welfare reform, he had our back all the way through. He could have undercut us. He did not. He stood up and took the conservative position all the way. And Ronna, I thought Ronna did a tremendous job helping us win the majority. She traveled with me. She helped raise money. I watched when President Trump won in 2016. It was Ronna in charge of Michigan. That was a key state for his victory. And he picked her to be the head of the RNC. So, I mean, I think both of their actions show that they care a lot about the party, letting other times move forward, and in the timing place that they're doing it.
But still, it sort of sets the stage for some new leadership, maybe evolution of the party a little bit. What do you think kind of comes next? There's no doubt that both of them did a great job, and that was a great point about McConnell and the Supreme Court for sure. He said it's time for the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Mitch. Mitch not being thrown out anyway. He's served a long time. He thinks it's a new generation, that they're ready to come. And the Senate is always a little different. I view the Senate like a country club, and the House is like eating at a truck stop, right? We're revolutionaries, we're young, we're aggressive, but it's the way the founders wrote it and had the whole design of it. But what you're finding, a lot of these younger House members have gone on to the Senate. You know, and it's a more aggressive place it's going to be, and I think that's what the party is reflective of right now.
You are very gracious, and you're right, there's some really good things that Mitch did. Can I say quickly, did you ever express your displeasure when they passed that, was it an omnibus bill, was it? That they passed?
And you know what's so ironic?
You're like 2 weeks away from getting the gavel, and they passed this bill. Did you just go, Mitch, come on, this is...
Well, I went to the Senate lunch and said, please don't do this, but...
And they did it anyway.
But what we cut, you know, where the deficit is supposed to be higher, but because of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, was pretty much just all what they added. I had to fight all that time just to take back what they just added. We got a long way to go, but yeah.
No doubt. All right, let's go to this. The Speaker, the President, he took a trip to Walter Reed earlier today for his annual physical, and he's feeling so good, he even had the energy to crack a couple jokes. Watch.
Straight away. No, there is something. Everything's great. Everything's great.
All right, well, despite Biden's confidence, voters are increasingly concerned over his physical and mental well-being. Howard Dean, however, isn't worried.
I'll bet you anything that Joe Biden could beat the daylights out of Trump in a push-up contest, for example. And Trump knows it, too, although if it was a cheeseburger eating contest, it might turn out differently.
And while reporters and voters alike are wondering why Biden didn't have a cognitive test, I think that's the question we have for you, Mr. Speaker.
Two things I would say. Now, I get a physical every year. I have to take a cognitive test. And also, I get on a treadmill.
Yeah.
I wonder if he got on a treadmill. Because at that age, you'd worry about the heart. But if you watch the way he walks, not there. And I will tell you, I've had a lot of interactions with him. And I've known him for quite some time. I've met with him a lot when he's vice president. He's not the same man. There's times when I met with him president, much different than the time I met with him before. It'd be one of the first things I would do in any physical with him. I'd take that test, have him take that test.
And it's interesting also, McConnell stepping down a week after his 82nd birthday. He's had some health issues recently that we've sort of seen publicly too. In some ways, I feel like it's a nod to say to the current president, it's okay to step down. I mean, we've got pictures. You can't really laugh at this. This is the president, our president, falling.
And this isn't the only. This is not the only video of you have him falling from on the bike. There's numerous times you watch when he walks how serious he's concerned about that. And look, it's not that you're just president of the United States. You are the leader of the free world. What does it say when you have to put a lid on it and you can't go out and talk when Israel is being attacked? I mean, that is not a position. We talk about, if you think of individuals like Al Gore just had to leave the Apple board because he aged out. He's younger than the president. I mean, we put these restrictions on people whether they can be pilots, how old they can. This is the leader of the free world. I'm not saying put an age limit on him, but it's definitely, Nancy Pelosi is close to his age, but is much different in the brain than he is in the process.
And I think you see the polling, I think it's 64% of Americans think that he's too old to be president. Joe Biden, I think, I'm pulling off the top of my head, 45, 47%, 41% think it's Donald Trump is too old. You've met with him behind closed doors. You said he's changed since you knew him as a vice president till now. And listen, when you give a speech, you have teleprompters that can rattle people, and we see the president stumble, mess up words and names. But when you meet behind,
he still has a teleprompter when you meet behind closed doors. But the teleprompter are cards. I found when I met with him, it would just be a couple. He would read from the card.
Just the two of you, and he's reading from cards.
It's like four of us, yeah. And if you deviate, like I didn't sit and negotiate with him the debt ceiling. It's non-capable. He just sticks to the cards. And if you deviate from the cards, he can't continue onward there. That's why he has served the country, regardless whether you like it or not. I respect the man for serving the country. I thank him for that service. But he is not of the age that is best to be able to serving in the presidency, especially the position that he is to going forward with what I have watched to serve again.
Real quick before we let you go, do you think he makes it to the ticket in November?
Yeah, look, the only way not is something within health, something that we don't see. But 99% is going to be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. But this is different. This is a re-election. This is a report card on what he said he would do. Americans are sitting home right now when they want to go buy a new house. They can't because of the interest rate, that they got to stay locked into where they are. They watched the world where he promised we were going to be safer. No, now we see war. We see 5 embassies have to be evacuated. We watch what's happening based upon his policies, that Iran is stronger and wealthier. And Israel's being under attack. We're watching the new axis of evil got bound together with North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China. We haven't seen that since the 1930s. This is all under his watch. Energy prices are higher. I mean, people sit back and they want something different for this nation. Look, America's a great nation. Now is the time to start showing that we can be a great nation. So what I say to everyone, this is our time to unite. If you have a different opinion within the Republican Party, put that aside. Whatever happens there is better than what's happening right now. If you're an independent or a Democrat, this is an opportunity. You know the country was stronger and safer 4 years before. And this is an opportunity to put the country before yourself.
Yeah, the world's more dangerous. The country is poor. And the American people are going to have a chance to vote on that as we come to this November. Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful you came and joined us on the show.
Thank you.
You know one of the few things that are better than it was 4 years ago? You're now on TV, this show.
Oh, that's true.
We're making the life
That's
better
true.
every time I get to see you.
Well, I wouldn't have been in Congress but for you, and I thank you for that. And America thanks you
Thank you for your service.
We appreciate it. All right.